I almost forgot to record this. I was slightly distracted by the whole John Cena thing on Raw. But anyway, but still, really, Cena? Not how I saw that going. Anyway, as I said a few days ago, I have got books to catch up on that I had planned to read earlier. And my brief pause in reading this series came to an end with the reading of Quarantine 13, which is the third book in the series, but is kind of, I don't want to say a standalone because it's not a standalone really, not a full standalone. Book 1 and 2, River in the Galaxy and Outer Universe, were Merlon's duology. So he was the main character, with a great supporting cast of characters, and his own story ended at the end of Outer Universe. Now, Quarantine 13 does feature Merlon heavily, but the focus is on Tara. Now, Tara is a navigator, and she is a navigator because she can see the currents of energy throughout the universe as bright colours, and she can see how they move through space and use it to navigate the ships. But she's having trouble seeing that energy, and she doesn't know why, but no matter how hard she concentrates, she just cannot find the colour in the sky, and she just can't navigate, and she's worried because if she loses her job, then she won't be close to Merlon, and they're together, so it's a whole situation. Now, it's partially due to this that Lucia, their ship, is accidentally pulled through a portal, and they end up in the one place that they'd struggled so hard to get away from in the previous books. They end up back in Outer Universe. But they end up on the Quarantine 13 planet. Now, Quarantine 13 is mentioned in the short story, the third short story, and it is basically where humans are sent when they're believed to be diseased. The children are believed to be infected with something. I won't go into the details about what they believe that to be, because I think that's kind of a spoiler. Needless to say, this book follows what happens on that planet. In the grand scheme of things, not much of the book actually takes place on Quarantine 13. Most of it is off the planet, but the whole navigation of the story itself, its core is at Quarantine 13. So I can understand the title of the book, despite the fact that most of the book is actually away from that planet. What I will say is this book is probably the darkest of the series that I've read so far, including the short stories that I've read to this point. There are some very uncomfortable occurrences, a lot of death, a lot of distress, a lot of trauma, and it is very much child orientated. This whole story revolves around the children of Quarantine 13. What I will say is it's probably one of the best ways of writing uncomfortable subject matter that I've come across in a while. It makes you appreciate the effects of that trauma rather than go, oh, I can't read any more of this. It sort of guides you through it. Something else I will say is something that's very cleverly done. Now, Tara is what I believe to be the space equivalent of Scottish. So her dialect is slightly different. Her dialect is very Scottish. And what I noticed is the language in the book, the narration of the story, if you like, is written in that same kind of way. like whenever her father is mentioned, the narrator doesn't say dad or father, they say da, which is, Scottish and Irish. So I like the fact that the book itself kind of goes from Tara's perspective, even when she's not talking. I think that was a very clever thing to do, very well executed. The end of the book, I was expecting a happy conclusion because I knew, having seen a lot of Natalie's posts and having looked at the physical books, where are they? There they are. Myself, I know that this is the end for their main story, Tara and Merlin and all the rest, and it moves on to Balfour. So I knew it was going to be a happy ending, and I'm very glad they got the happy ending that they desired. I don't think that's going to be a spoiler. If you've read the first two, you will kind of see that coming, I think. But what I will say is it ends in a way that is not a direct, cut off, that's it, done. We're moving on to the next people now. It's very much, this is the end of this story. We might revisit these characters again. So yeah, I thought it was brilliant, as I did the first two books. And I will move on to Balfour's stories shortly. I've still got other books to catch up on. I have at least a dozen still to look at from when I launched DWA reviews for the indie authors. I'm reading one right now, so I will get to it. It'll take me a while, but by the time I get to it, Natalie will probably have written the final book in Balfour's trilogy. So, positives. I can read that trilogy then. But yeah, 4.5 stars for this, just because I think Outer Universe has a slight edge on it. But yes, it continues to be a fantastic series, and I genuinely look forward to every iteration that follows it.